Hello, and welcome back to the Bix Beiderbecke Museum. We hope you're enjoying the video tour of our permanent exhibition. Today, we follow Bix to Lake Forrest Academy and Chicago, as he proves that it was music, more than anything, that drove him forward. In 1921, Bix was sent to Lake Forrest Academy, a disciplined school north of Chicago, by his parents in hopes that it would help bolster his grades. Throughout his high school career in Davenport, Bix had proven time and time again where his interest lay, and it did not change just because Lake Forrest had a disciplined college preparatory atmosphere. On his own admission papers, his interests were listed as basketball, tennis, glee club, and orchestral instruments. And that was indeed where Bix left his mark at the school. He joined the baseball team and assembled bands to play at school events, but his focus stayed well away from the grades he needed to pass high school. In the case just to the right, we have a pennant from Lake Forest and 2 dance cards for school dances at which Bix played during his short time there. By early 1922, however, the allure of his proximity to Chicago had him catching trains to sit in with bands and see others in action. He often found himself on Wabash Avenue at the Friars Inn, listening to the Friars Orchestra play. Coupled with his continued poor school performance, his constant unauthorized trips into Chicago, and instances of drinking in his dormitory, Bix was expelled from Lake Forest before the end of the term in 1922. The true significance of his time at Lake Forest Academy has little to do with the school itself. Instead, it was his ability to head into Chicago and the people he met there that bolstered his budding career. Chicago of the early 1920s had a bustling jazz scene, sparked not only by the migration of jazz musicians from New Orleans, but also by prohibition and speakeasies, where all these elements would meet. Prohibition, which banned the production and sale of alcohol, but not the public's desire for it, caused a growth of speakeasies, places where alcohol was either illegally sold or customers would buy a setup of glasses, ice, and mixers to enjoy the alcohol they had brought in themselves. Jazz music was known as the music the younger generations listened to, but it also had a counterculture reputation that fit with the illicit affairs of illegal alcohol sales and consumption within the speakeasies. In this Chicago music nightlife, Bix met Hoagy Carmichael at the Friars Inn. Though Hoagy was a student at Indiana University, he too found more inspiration in jazz than he did in his studies. They struck up a friendship through their shared musical passion. Bix occasionally got his chance to join the Friars Orchestra after their sets, playing with musicians such as Paul Mares on trumpet, George Bruni's on trombone, the bassist Steve Brown, and Leon Rapolo, who Bix had heard play the summer prior in Davenport. Pianist Elmer Schobel would later write that Bix would sit in with us occasionally, but his style didn't work out with this group, and so they didn't encourage him to pursue joining their band as a career. Following his leave from Lake Forest Academy, the now 19-year-old Bix played with bands on Lake Michigan cruises and at resorts. Later on in 1922, Bix would join a band for a 6-week engagement in Syracuse, New York, and meet another musician who would become a close friend and collaborator, Eddie Condon, who played banjo and guitar. Following that engagement, Bix traveled to New York City for the first time in his life, and met Nick LaRocca, a fellow cornet player, and sat in with the original Dixieland Jazz Band. In 1923, back in Chicago, Bix joined his friends at the Lincoln Gardens, once known as the Royal Gardens, to see even more of New Orleans' veteran jazz players, including a familiar face. Louis Armstrong was playing with the King Oliver's Creole Jazz Band on trumpet. Hoagy Carmichael would later write of Bix's reaction to seeing Louis Armstrong play, saying, "Bix was on his feet, his eyes poppin'. Every note Louis hit was perfection." In an era of Jim Crow laws, never mind the expectations, Bix and Louis never played together publicly, but the atmosphere of a number of jazz performances during Prohibition offered Bix chances to see Louis perform live, and for the pair to strike up a friendship at parties and impromptu jazz sessions between events. Lake Forrest Academy turned into a time of exploration for Bix that would produce friendships, connections, and practice with numerous different bands that would influence the rest of his career and his own personal style. By late 1923, Bix would begin to be known beyond his hometown of Davenport for his musical skills, as we shall see in the next section. Please join us in the next video as Bix joins the first band that would propel his career, the Wolverines.